Let's go down to Joplin. That's where Senator Roy Blunt is this afternoon. Senator, how are you?
Well, I'm really good. I'm walking up a street right now where Extreme Makeover is doing 7 houses in 7 days for 7 families who would have never seen these houses. Unlike most of that project, they picked these families from the stories people wrote in, and when they told the families they were building these houses, they sent the families to Disney World, I think. I know that either Disney World or Disneyland, and they're going to come back in a few days and see their new homes all here side by side on a street that is right in the center of a lot of the devastation of the tornado from Joplin. And I think they just told me 10,000 volunteers have been here over the course of the week, which is
wow,
by far the most volunteers. The Extreme Makeover, 30,000 meals served, and I think all donated by people in the community, and so it's a great project, Mark.
When did they?
Particularly if you're part of a totally dysfunctional organization, the federal government. It's nice to be down here seeing people getting things done.
Yeah, well, that is different, isn't it? So when do they actually come back to see the homes?
I guess at the end of the 7 days. I think they take them away for a week, and they'll come back when these homes are done here in a couple of days. And I don't know when this runs on television, but it won't be this week, I wouldn't think. But sometime they'll put this all together for one of the more extraordinary things that Extreme Makeover's ever done.
That's an awesome story. And, people get, I got to tell you something, when I see those things, and probably even more so with Joplin, you can't help but get a little choked up to see the reaction of the families. I
was just talking to a guy who's one of the principal producer here, and he's been doing this for a long time. He said he'd actually genuinely had tears in his eyes more times this week than any time he could remember, just because people are so willing to help other people, and then the stories of what people went through. And a couple of these families are families that lost children in the tornado. And, no matter how the community meets the challenge of the new high school and building back and all of that, you're always going to have lives here that are affected by what happened in just a few minutes that day, that they'll be part of who they are forever, and in a challenging and difficult way. But still, as you were saying, this guy said, I really never had quite as emotional a week, just because so many people are willing to do so much for other people.
Sure, I can't even imagine. Hey, on that front, let me ask you about something related to housing, because this is something that the president is kicking off in Las Vegas today, which has been, we have our own problems here in Missouri, but that's like ground zero of the housing bus. These new rules for federally guaranteed mortgages. So in theory, more homeowners with little or no equity, those people who are upside down, can refinance. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that, I want to look at it closely, but if there is some reasonable way that we could keep people in homes, particularly people that have been making payments and other things that no longer have equity, but today's interest rates give a huge advantage to them, I think that's better for the lender that ultimately could wind up with that house back, as well as the taxpayer. And so we'll see. I want to look at the specifics of what the president's saying, but I'm not opposed to doing things that encourage people, that allow people to, for instance, refinance, even though they no longer have equity, to refinance at the mortgage they have today at a rate that suddenly reduces their payment by a couple $100 a month. That may be the difference in whether they decide to stay in that house or just walk away and let somebody else deal with it and have a neighborhood with one more abandoned house.
And I think that's okay. My understanding of it is, though, there's no way for the government to require that the lenders refinance those loans, right?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think there would be, and that's why I said I want to look at exactly what he's proposing, because so often the goal is okay, but the way to get there so stresses who we are and who we want to be and the way our system's supposed to work, that something you think you should be able to be for is just done in such a heavy-handed way. And maybe that's not the case here today, but in so many of these regulations coming out, they just don't meet common sense, even though you're clearly not against the goal of, clean air and clean water and all of those things that we're all for. But if you do that in a way that destroys the economy, you're going to wind up with worse air and worse water before it's all over.
Is your schedule going to afford you the possibility of attending a Game 6 or Game 7 of the World Series here in St. Louis?
I don't know. There is going to be a Game 6. I was prepared for them to go to Texas and not come back. They may have. The game on Saturday night was just so unbelievable. I've never seen any baseball game like that, particularly in a World Series. And not only the record set, but just the score. How many World Series games did the losing team score 7 games and lose by 11 or lose by 9? Just unbelievable.
Yeah, there was a little bit. Let's hope that they save some of that offense up for, Game 5 tonight. All right, Senator, listen, I appreciate you checking in with us from Joplin, Missouri. And if you do make it to town later this week, we'll be out there broadcasting live outside of Gate 5 at Busch Stadium. Maybe we'll see you then.
If I'm in town, I'm looking for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator.
See you, buddy.